Very many people think that diabetes is simply caused by taking in too much sugar. However, that is just one of the many misconceptions out there. The truth is, the relationship between diabetes and sugar is far more complicated. There are two main types of diabetes, but today we are focusing on type 1, a condition where the immune system mistakenly attacks the insulin producing cells in the body. Hello, I'm Eddie, a nutritionist by profession, and today I'll be joined by my longtime friend Ashraf, who was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at a young age. Together we shall dive into his journey living with the condition, the challenges he has faced, and the lessons he has learned living with this condition. You won't want to miss this. Yes. How are you, Ashraf?
I'm okay. How are you, Uncle Eddie?
I'm okay.
Yes.
So please introduce yourself to our viewers today and tell them about yourself.
Yeah. Yes. I'm by names of Ashraf. I'm 24 years old, a peer supporter by profession, a diabetes educator, a mentor, a counselor to all warriors. I'm sorry to use the word warriors, but those are the people living with type 1 diabetes, most especially young people.
Oh, thank you for that detailed introduction. So I met Ashraf at Masaka Regional Referral Hospital during my internship placement where he was working at the diabetes ward. So Ashraf, can you tell us what exactly the work you are doing at the diabetes ward of the diabetes unit of Masaka Regional Referral Hospital?
Well, at the hospital, I'm the one concerned to the newly diagnosed warriors. I'm the one educating them, mentoring them to thrive with type 1 diabetes.
Yes.
For instance, at diagnosis, people feel like their life had hit a dead end. They couldn't amount to anything in life, which isn't correct. For example, we have engineers, we have doctors.
Yes.
So at diagnosis, there is a little bit time. People think that if they are diagnosed being diabetic, they couldn't amount to anything. But whenever they are diagnosed and they send them to me, I counsel them, I educate them on how to live with type 1 diabetes positively. Yeah.
So can you take us back to the day you were first diagnosed with type 1 diabetes? How old were you? How did your family receive the information? And how did you go through that moment?
Well, on 15th June 2007, that was the day I was diagnosed at being type 1 diabetic at Villa Maria Hospital. And by then, we had no support system. And I thought my life had hit a dead end. And I thought I couldn't amount to anything.
How old were you then?
By then I was 7 years.
7 years old?
Yes.
And how did your family receive this information? Did they have prior knowledge about type 1 diabetes?
For sure, they didn't have by the time. They didn't have, because they couldn't accept that I could live long up to where I am today.
Yeah. So I want you to take us to that moment. How did you realize, what symptoms did you face at that time that pushed you to now go for the diagnosis? What challenges were you going through at that time?
By that time, I could take a 20-liter jerrycan of water within 2 to 3 hours. I could urinate frequently. I lost my body weight. And when they took me to the hospital, Villa Maria, they did very many tests, and later they had forgotten to test my blood sugars. They later tested my sugars, and they diagnosed that my sugars were too high. The glucose levels were too high in the blood.
Yes. And so initially after diagnosis, how was the situation? Were there was the healthcare system capable of supporting your condition, and the environment you are living in at school, how was it?
For sure, the support system was there, but it was a little bit slide down. However, at school, people could not cooperate with me, because you remember some students have a saying that if we contagious, some of us, some students say that people who have chronics are contagious.
Yeah,
Hence
and that is also another misconception about these NCDs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they couldn't cooperate with me, and at school mainly, they decided to separate me from other students, because for me, I was living at school at around 8. Hence for them, they were living at around 6 or 7.
So it was hard for you to come to school in the earlier hours.
Yeah,
because of the new condition there. Yeah, so I want you to tell us how your typical day is. Yeah, starting from when you wake up to when you go to work, all the things that, what are those preliminary things you have to do now that you have this condition? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Uncle Eddie, for that good question. Very early in the morning at around 6, if I wake up, first and foremost, I have to first check my sugar levels, and I find out how are they. Are they normal? Are they high? Or they are low? Thereafter, I have to, if they are normal and they are okay, they are not in hypo, they are not in high, I have to get what to eat as a breakfast. Thereafter, I inject myself
with insulin.
Yeah. Then I prepare myself, I go to work.
Okay, so you said that when you wake up in the morning, the first thing to do is to check your blood sugar.
Yeah.
And so tell us, how did you manage to cope up with the experience of having to check your blood sugar each and every other day? What are some of those things that helped you to adapt to this new condition? Because there is a phobia among so many people.
Yeah. I know.
People fear to get injected, they fear to draw blood. So how challenging has this situation been, and how have you been able to cope up with this?
Thank you, Uncle Ed, for that good question. But believing in yourself is a good thing, and accepting each and everything in life is something that can help you cope with anything. So I believed in myself, I believe in myself, and I accepted to live with diabetes for life. Because if I have a saying to me that if I do a slight mistake and I don't follow the protocols, and these young warriors get to know, what will happen to them?
Yeah, so we are going to have a short break. When we come back, Ashraf is going to tell us about the warriors. I've seen him, he's part of a group or an association called the Warriors. Yeah, so when we come back, he's going to be telling us about the warriors, the things they do, their objectives. Yeah. Yes, welcome back. So Ashraf, you're going to tell us about the Warriors group, what they do, what their objectives are, and how you joined that group.
Well, first and foremost, warriors are the people living with type 1 diabetes. This is a support system that supports young people living with type 1 diabetes. Our aim is to create more awareness about the condition. We also have an objective of creating a big support system that will help other people living with type 1 diabetes to get diagnosed, to know their risks of diabetes at an early stage.
So you said it's an association of young people. So when these young people become older, do they have to leave the group?
No, they are the ones to support these other upcomings.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when did you join the Warriors group? And how did you come to know about it?
I joined the Warrior group in 2014. However, by that time, I knew only Masaka Warrior community. And later, I get to know other warrior communities. For example, we have Mulago Pediatrics, St. Francis in Zambia Type 1 Pediatrics Diabetes Clinic. We have Lubaga. All over Uganda, we have that support system.
Okay. How in particular do they support the warriors? Do they provide insulin? Do they provide emotional support?
Well, they do, because we are operating under Sony and Abeta Foundation. It's the one who's supporting us in each and everything.
Okay.
Insulin, education materials, okay. Warrior workshops, okay. Warrior camps. Yeah.
And are there any other organizations that are doing similar work? Particularly here in Masaka, are there other organizations that come out to support the warriors?
No, here in Masaka we don't have.
It's only the warriors group?
Yeah.
Okay. Living with diabetes can be emotionally tough. How do you cope up with emotional stress and the social life?
To cope up the emotional support, I know the mental health is something that can help in managing type 1. If we are monitoring you and you're not mentally stable, my dear, we are doing nothing. You have to first and foremost accept that I've been diagnosed being a type 1. That's what God has decided. Now it's me. I have to do each and everything that I am supposed to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have to follow the medication rules. If I've been told to trek at around 7, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Okay.
If I'm told to wake up at 3 to trek, I have to wake up so that we don't get complications and some other conditions.
Okay. So you've talked about medication and trekking.
Yeah.
So apart from the insulin that you have to inject yourself with,
yes.
Is there any other medication that you're using?
For sure, research is still ongoing, but we haven't got any other medication.
Okay. And about the trekking, tell us more about it.
No, trekking is a simple term meaning checking blood sugars. If you're told to check at around 3 a.m., my dear, you have to wake up.
Okay.
So that you don't go into a hypo or a hyper.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you handle situations when you are in a hypo or hyper? Our viewers, a hypo is when the blood sugar is low, and the hyper is when the blood sugar goes so high. Is that right, Ashiraf?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you handle those situations, and how do you try to avoid them?
Well, I think I can start with hyper for us to benefit.
Yes.
Because hyper, this is when your blood sugars are too high, above 10 to HI. So for this, you have to, because we usually have what they call the collection doses. Yeah, they can help fight a hyper. Then you have to first check your sugar levels and find out how are they. Are they 10 and above, or they are still in a normal range? So secondly, you have to read and record what you have tested. Then after that, you have to take a correction dose. And for the hyper, we have to monitor 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hour monitoring.
Yeah.
To find out, for the first time we've measured, it has been a 21. After 2 hours, how is it? So after doing all that, you have to inform your professional health care supporter, so that if you are going into DAK, you can be rushed into the facility to get serious medication. Yeah.
So our dear viewers, one of the complications that can happen during diabetes is hypoglycemia, and this is a situation where the blood sugar is way below the normal, or what we would call the optimum range. So Ashraf, could you please explain to us how you deal with the situations when you are hypoglycemic?
Well, thank you, Uncle Head, for the good explanation of low blood sugar. In managing type 1 diabetes, the most complication that I fear most is the hypo. Because for me, have ever tried to monitor it from a certain warrior for over 3 days. We couldn't inject him, but he spent 3 days in a hypo. And some of these people do experience hypoglycemic unawareness, that they are in a hypo but the body couldn't respond to the condition. And it's totally hard to monitor a low blood sugar. First and foremost, you have to track first, and you see how is it. Is it a 3, a 2, a 1, a 0? Or if you take and you find out that your blood sugars are below 4, they are 3 and down, and then there you have to correct it, and it takes some time, like 15 minutes are enough to correct a low blood sugar. Diabetes and nutrition, I think they should be combined together, because you have to relate the two. For instance, on treating a hypo, you need 15 grams of carbohydrates. It takes us into the nutrition department on how are we going to calculate the 15 grams of carbohydrates that we need to correct the hypo. So there we have to get the 2 medium small spoons. We take 2. Why do we use those 2 medium small spoons? Each is consisting of 7.5 grams of carbohydrates.
So these are spoons of table sugar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then those 2 can help us get a 15 grams of carbohydrates, which is equal to 1 gram of carbohydrates that is needed to correct a hypo. So after taking that 15 gram of carbohydrates, then it takes you 15 to 30 minutes. Then you measure again and you find out how are the sugars. Are they still low, or they are
high?
They have
stabilized.
Yes. So that's why I told you that nutrition and diabetes, they are related. Yeah. Because if you don't calculate and you just take, You might be in the hyper.
Yeah, you could transition from hypo to
A
hyper,
hyper,
which
yeah.
is also still not good.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that we usually do at the facility. When it becomes to treating a hypo, then if you measure and you find out that the glucose levels are still low, repeat the steps up to,
When the sugar becomes normal,
yeah,
blood sugar.
yeah,
Okay. So Ashraf,
yes,
there is a relationship between diabetes and nutrition,
yes.
and I would like you to tell us at the Masaka Regional Referral Hospital, is there like a nutritionist or dietitian that helps in the management of type 1 diabetes?
Currently we don't have, because the ones we have, they focused mainly in nutrition department. So it's only, I'm the only person who is trying to do both,
Okay.
to handle both sectors, because I educate these warriors on the feeding at the same time on managing type 1 diabetes. So I serve two masters at a go. That's what I can say. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you advise the government to do? Do you think they should bring in more nutritionists, more experts at nutrition, specifically targeting type 1 diabetes?
Yeah.
In the general setting, even when a nutritionist come to the hospital, they'll be catering for all other departments. Do you think there is need for us to have maybe a dietitian that is specifically for the diabetes department?
Yes, we should. We should have.
I'm curious. How are you dealing with diet? The portion sizes? Are there any things that you consider while choosing foods to eat? The amount of the food that you're going to eat? And are there any foods that you try to avoid?
Well, for the young people, Uncle Eddie, it isn't good for them to be stopped from taking all the foodstuffs, and they or to limit them to take some foodstuffs.
Yeah.
Remember, he or she is still growing.
It's growing and developing, and they need these nutrients for their growth and development.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you stop them from taking, or if you limit them from taking all those foodstuffs, it will affect their growth and development.
Yeah. So a person diagnosed with type 1 diabetes can still eat all the foods that are available.
Yes, as long as he or she has his or her insulin.
Yes, as long as they have their insulin, they can
Yes.
eat all the foods that
Yes.
are available.
Yes.
Yeah. Then so I want you to tell us about the misconceptions that you've encountered along your journey. I know there are people who say so many things. Others even think that maybe diabetes is from witchcraft. Others think it is from taking too much sugar. And all these are myths and misconceptions, and they can be emotionally hurting. That's right, Ashraf.
Yeah.
So tell us about what are those misconceptions that people usually say out and they are not true, and you feel that the public has to know what is right.
So people out there think that diabetes or diabetics are contagious, which isn't good. They stop them from doing from associating with non-diabetics,
Yeah.
which isn't good. They also stop them from sports, which isn't good. Because we have people who are diabetics and they are physically active.
True.
For example, we have Nacho Fernandez of Real Madrid. He's
Wow.
diabetic.
Yes. So a diabetic can still go out and play any sports. They can participate in competitive sports. Yeah. So that's another misconception that has to be rectified in the public. Diabetics can eat the food they want. They can play the sports they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not contagious.
Yeah.
Yeah. It cannot be spread by sitting next to a person with diabetes. Yeah. Diabetes is not contagious or infectious like that. Yeah. So Are there any other myths that people usually say about diabetes and you feel that?
Yes, mainly these neurodiagnosed, they tend to say, the parents tend to say, let me take the children or the child to the hospital so that he dies from there, in order for these people in the community not to blame him or her that he left the child to die at home, which isn't good. Because actually the bad thing is people think that diabetes isn't there.
Some people actually think diabetes
It's for rich people.
is for rich people.
Yeah, it's for old people. But for me, I've lived with it for 17 years now.
17 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what specific advice do you have for the young ones who are newly diagnosed with type 1 diabetes?
Well, I could advise them to accept.
Acceptance.
Yeah. Because just recently we had this workshop, and that was my theme, the road to acceptance. If you accept, each and everything will be okay. Because for me, I accepted.
Yes.
That's why I am where I am.
So, Ashraf, you work at the place where people are diagnosed with diabetes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And how is the support system when the new people are diagnosed? Is there support for them, and are there people who are ready to help them in this new condition that they have just realized they are having?
Yes. We have a support system. That's why I'm working there in that department to support those newly diagnosed. We educate them on how to handle the condition and on how to manage the condition. We advise them not to leave education. We provide the glucometers from our funders. We deliver them. As an advocate, I have to pressurize our funders so that we don't run into scarce of each and everything that we need to manage our condition. Yeah.
And have you managed to access the emerging new technologies, like the devices that you can use to monitor your blood sugar without having to inject yourself? Have you been able to access these as well?
Well, for the devices, I think we have managed to get the insulin pens. And some other devices like the glucometers. Beside the glucometers, we haven't yet managed to get the GCM, continuous glucose monitoring machine. We haven't yet managed to access it, but I hope with time we shall manage to get it.
Wow. And what are your hopes for the future regarding the management of diabetes? What things do you hope that maybe the government and the health system can implement or bring into the system in order to improve its management?
Well, I would kindly beg the government to reduce on taxes, or even to remove taxes from these medical supplies, mainly for the diabetics.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you feel that there are enough medical personnel in the hospital who are experts at managing diabetes, specifically type 1?
Not really.
Not many.
Yeah.
And so apart from the regional referral hospital, the Masaka Regional Referral Hospital, which other health centers around Masaka are able to give this health service to the diabetics?
It's only Masaka Regional Referral Hospital and the St. Joseph Chitov in Greater Masaka.
The Greater Masaka region?
Yeah, there are two.
Okay, so that means that people living in the areas of, let me say, Chinoni, Chotera, they all have to come to Masaka Regional Referral Hospital.
If not Masaka, then it's St. Joseph's Chitovu.
Chitovu Hospital.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ashraf. Let's have a short break, then we're going to come back. Please stay on the channel. Thank you very much, Ashraf, for that information regarding management. Now, I would like you to tell us about insulin, how accessible it is, especially to people who are living far away from the hospital, and in terms of cost. How affordable is it now that you have to use it every single day of your life?
Well, thank you, Uncle Eddie, for that good question. Access to insulin to those who can't access it, and they are they registered into our program, or because for us, for the warrior community under the sponsorship of Sonia Nabeta Foundation, we have a support system of Project Boda Boda. This is a system that helps a warrior who isn't able to travel from home. Insulin. Remember, insulin is a bit, is one of the most expensive liquid in the world. Because here in Uganda, a vial of insulin costs around 25,000 to 30,000. That's the cost of a vial. And for the penny, it's between 65,000 something.
Yeah. And for how long do you use for the one that costs 30,000? How many days can it take you?
It can take you to 30 days.
30 days.
Yeah, for the pain, it can take you for 2 weeks.
So the pain, which is more expensive, actually takes shorter days.
Yeah.
But it's about the convenience. I think the pain is more convenient to use.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are saying there is a boda system that
yes, helps us to transport insulin from the facility to meet the warriors in areas where they live.
And so you said that people who are in the warrior, is it an association or a group?
It's a group.
So people who are in the warrior group can access this insulin. Now, what about those that are not part of the group? How do they get the insulin that they need for their management?
For sure, I don't know. That's what I can say. If they haven't been registered at a facility, I don't know how they access there. They have to get into their pockets and buy insulin. And
what is the criteria for joining the warriors group? Are there any requirements they require from you before they register you?
No, we don't have anything we require from you to register you. If you are falling under the age category we are registering, register you. Yeah.
And now what about the people who are a little bit older? Maybe they have been managing their type 1 diabetes from a different area and now they have migrated into the Masaka region. Does age restrict them from joining your warriors group?
Yeah, the age matters because for us, we register 25 years and below. And if you are above 25 years, we don't register. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ashraf. Is there anything that you would like to put across to the public regarding diabetes type 1? Yeah.
Well, I could emphasize them to get screened for type 1 diabetes, as in they should get to know their diabetes status. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ashraf, for this informative discussion, and thank you our dear viewers for keeping with us up to this very moment. Yeah, we've seen that type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition caused when the immune system mistakenly attacks the insulin producing cells of the body. It is not contagious, it is not infectious. Yeah, and we've seen that some of the misconceptions around diabetes include people thinking that it comes from eating too much sugar, or that it is infectious, that when you sit with someone you get diabetes. That is not true. Yeah, so Ashraf has said that we need to make some implementations as the government has to make sure that the supplies for the management of type 1 diabetes, at least these are not taxed, in order to increase their accessibility to these people facing this condition. Yeah, thank you once again, Ashraf, and
Yeah,
thank you, our dear viewers.